Today's lab is using index fossils to help us interpret Earth's history. So these exercises are going to be from chapter 12 in your lab manual. And in your lab manual, in chapter 12, you're going to be given these things, these fauna. And what we mean by that are just groups of organisms that were found in a rock formation. And then you will take these illustrations and use these identification charts provided to help you figure out what those organisms are. So on these charts, for instance, you'll see things like this organism, Tecophylium. I'm reading upside down, sorry. That's the name of this organism, and then underneath it says Silurian to Devonian. That's when that organism happened to live. So you'll go through these, you'll identify the different organisms provided in these fauna, and then you'll also say when those organisms are from. And for example, fauna number 1 has already been done for you. And so there's the 3 different fossils. There's when those fossils existed. On some of the fauna, I went through this lab and I noticed that they give you a fossil, but the fossil is not in the identification charts. And I don't need you guys like looking for hours for something that's not there. So I simply give you that fossil. So if it's listed, I'll list the fossil, I'll list when it lived, and you obviously don't have to identify it because it's not in those charts. So you're going to do that for, I think it's 9 different fauna. You're going to identify these fossils. Then, when you have completed that, you are going to use those fossil assemblages to help figure out the geologic history of an area. So that's what we're seeing here in exercise 12 part B. It says the fossil assemblages you just identified were found at the locations indicated on figure 12.1. Now let's go to figure 12.1. So for example, that means fauna 1 was found here in the Chuar group. Fauna 2 was found here at the base of the Tremadoc group. Fauna 3 was found here at the top of the Tremadoc group, and so on. And you're then going to use the ages of those fossils that you found to figure out the age of the Chuar group. For example, we figured out that, let's see, that's fauna 1, and I did those. And somewhere I wrote down that those were from the Proterozoic, right? All of the fossils coexisted in the Proterozoic. So the Chuar group is going to be from the Proterozoic. Then you'll look at where all of your fossils for fauna 2 came from and fauna 3, right? Because those are both in the Tremadoc. And you'll figure out what the age of the Tremadoc formation is. And do that for all of those different formations. Now, after you've done that, figuring out the age of all of those different formations, then you're going to start interpreting the geologic history of this area. So this is exercise 12 part D in your lab manual. And I wrote, remember, when you are asked what the nature of the contact is, this means you must determine what type of contact it is. And a contact is where the 2 different rock types meet. And the possibilities that you could have a fault contact. And if it is a fault, make sure you say if it's a normal, a reverse, a strike slip, or a thrust fault. A contact can be conformable if everything makes sense geologically, meaning there's no time missing, meaning you start with the Cambrian, and then you have the Ordovician, and then you have the Silurian, and so on. Your contact could be unconformable, and if it's unconformable, tell us what kind it is. Is it an angular unconformity, a nonconformity, or a disconformity? So just remember that when you answer questions 3 through 7, where it says, what is the nature of the contact between the Tremadoc and Labrador? Well, tell me, is it a fault? Is it conformable? Is it unconformable? And just be specific about what type of fault it is or what type of unconformity is, if that's what you happen to have there. As always with these, I'm here to help you guys. Just let me know if you have any questions.